About 2 seconds and you're good.
Okay. Okay, it's looking like we're live and everything's good to go.
Yep, we're good.
Great. All right. Well, good morning, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the May Mineland Reclamation Board. I first want to start and ask if we've got any new members to welcome.
Not at this point. Hopefully soon. Fingers crossed.
All right, fingers crossed. All right, great. Well, then I would also like to start with just a roll call of our board members, please. Ms. Wareham.
Present.
Morning. Ms. Utterback Norman.
Here.
Morning. Mr. Singletary. I see you, so I'll say good morning. And then I know Mr. Mock is going to be joining us. I believe he was trying to multitask between a couple of meetings this morning. So with that, I'd like to get started and start with the approval of the April 2021 summary of minutes. Could I please get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you. And a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, aye? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Hearing none in opposition, we're going to go ahead and approve the minutes. And then our second item of business is the approval of continuances and withdrawals. And I believe we did get an email this morning that said that item 9. So with that change, could I please get a approval to a motion to approve the continuances and withdrawals?
So moved.
Thank you. And a second?
Second.
Second.
Thanks. All in favor? Aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? Hearing none, we're going to approve the continuances and withdrawals for this month. As I mentioned, Mr. Mock is multitasking, so I'm going to look for Ginny. There you go. Do you mind if we start this morning with the division director report, Ms. Brannon, instead, and have you up first? Let's see. Can you hear us, Ms. Brannon?
Amy, I can barely hear anybody.
Oh, she's working on it. Okay.
Oh, Tim's here too.
All right, great. So while Ms. Brandon's getting set up, can we start with your report, Mr. Mock, the executive director report?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I apologize for the delay there. Madam Chair, members of the board, Director Brandon, Tim Mock, Deputy Director for Department of Natural Resources. Just a couple of updates here this month. Tomorrow, May 20th, Parks and Wildlife is kicking off their second wolf reintroduction educational series online. Purpose of the sessions are to provide the commission and members of the public with a common understanding of what went into the considerations and logistics for the reintroduction of wolves into Yellowstone and central Idaho in the mid-1990s. The presenters will share their real-world experiences about establishing and managing wolves in Northern Rockies. For any of those that are interested in following my update here, I'll copy and paste in the chat there the link to sign up and pre-register if you're interested in joining that. The Water Equity Task Force was set up earlier this year. I think I've probably mentioned it in some of my previous updates. It's intended to better understand existing equity, diversity, and inclusivity EDI challenges related to Colorado water issues. Input from this group with other stakeholders' input will help inform the Colorado Water Conservation Board, ensuring EDI is strongly incorporated into the Colorado Water Plan update. They will be hosting a fall workshop in 2021 here. I can also copy and paste the website link, and you can stay posted for that and join that public workshop if interested. A couple of developments here in the Capitol with the legislative session. I've kind of kept everybody posted on the Senate Bill 249, Keep Colorado Wild Pass. It looks to provide an alternative way for Coloradans to support Colorado parks and wildlife via car registration, where we would aim to cut the existing price of the annual state parks pass down to 50%, so going to about $40 pass. And we're hoping to get it much cheaper than that if possible, just depending on the number of individuals that participate in that program. Also, Senate Bill 258, oh, I'm sorry, so the Keep Colorado Wild Pass yesterday passed second readings in the Senate. Senate Bill 258, it's a $25 million wildfire stimulus bill, was heard in local government yesterday and passed out of that unanimously. And then for the sake of trying not to embarrass anybody, I do want to wish our esteemed director, Ginny Brannon, a very happy birthday. We very much appreciate all of her hard work and leadership here at DNR and wish her the best of days today. So thank you. And with that, open for any questions.
Perfect, thank you. Passing on those happy birthday wishes. Any questions here? Hearing none and seeing none in the chat, I'll just say thank you. Thanks for letting us know about those meetings. I think that's going to be really important. If we don't have any questions, let's move on to the division director report, Ms. Brannon.
Okay, thank you. Hi, sorry, I was having some connection issues. Judy Brannon, Division Director. Thank you, Deputy Director Monk, for that very nice birthday wish. Yes, I am celebrating the 50th year on this planet, and there's nowhere I'd rather be. I'm actually very pleased to be here. And so, you know, it's pretty much business as usual. We're looking forward to getting back into the office. Connection issues like the ones I was just having really make us want to get back to in-person meetings, and we're hopeful that will happen soon. Of course, don't want to get ahead of the governor's office on that, but just we can hope. We did, you know, we did up above Silverton, you know, that's a Superfund site now after the Gold King release. It's sort of the Bonita Superfund site, and Bonita Peaks Superfund site. And right before Gold King, I mean, almost coincident in time, we went to forfeiture on an old mill up there called Pride of the West. And so that was forfeited, and we got the money to do the reclamation. And then almost right immediately after that, Gold King happened, and then it became a Superfund site. And our job when it's a Superfund site is to get out of the way. But unfortunately, a bunch of us, you know, us, EPA, CDPHE, the county sheriff, were up there a few weeks ago and went into the mill and discovered a bunch of barrels filled with hazardous waste, like cyanide. And so EPA is going to take care of it. Obviously, it's their site. But that's just, what we'd like to do is just finish our reclamation and get out of there. What we'd really like to do is just give EPA the remaining money that we have and say, use this for your cleanup of the hazardous waste. You know, that disposal is really expensive. But of course, you know, we're talking about government agencies, so it couldn't possibly be that simple. So we can't do that, but we are going to spend on reclamation as soon as we can and get out of EPA's way. So that was kind of the main hillaboo recently. And other than that, it really honestly is pretty much business as usual. So take any questions, or anybody have any comments?
Mr. Singletary has a question for you, looks like.
I really don't have a question. I appreciate the report, but I wanted to, Madam Chair, Lauren, I wanted to thank you so much for your leadership and perseverance in our last 3 full day meetings. You did a great job and I appreciate it dearly. That was a task that very few people could accomplish and you did it so well. So thanks so much.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Nice to hear. All right. Well, if we don't have any questions for Ms. Brannon, then I thank you very much for your compliment there, Mr. Singletary. It means a lot to me. I don't think we have a consent agenda today. So with that, I think we can start our first enforcement hearing for file number M-1999-042. If you plan to present today, could you please raise your right hand? Thank you. And do you swear to tell the truth? I'm seeing heads nodding. All right, thank you. Sounds good. I believe we've already been sent the division presentations, but if you want to also share, I'm sure that we'd appreciate that too.
So before we start, we did get a letter from the operator's attorney requesting a continuance, and so we'd like to let him probably, I'm assuming, give his presentation or request first before we start our presentation, because that determines if we go or not.
Thank you. Sounds good.
Good morning. This is Richard Stevens representing Robert Congdon. And we had put in a request for continuance on Monday, primarily because the issue that brought to the division's attention was 2 Forest Service letters that said our plan of operations was no longer in effect. At our last meeting where we presented, we had just filed suit against the Forest Service saying you didn't go through the proper procedures for doing that. And it was on Monday late that in the course of that lawsuit, the Forest Service said, gee, those 2 letters weren't final decisions of the Forest Service. You can't challenge them because they're not our official position. But they have a new position saying that we're not in compliance, and they have essentially said, but you can, that's not a final decision either. You can process that through the administrative procedures to get to a final decision of the Forest Service. So we've requested a postponement of this hearing at a time for us to kind of work through the Forest Service process. And our request was to the August meeting of the board, seeing that that would give us several months to work with the Forest Service directly on, for them to come to a final decision, whether our plan of operations is still in effect or not. And the other factor is based on our last meeting where we presented, my clients and the division have agreed to a temporary or a cessation of mining activities until this is resolved. And so I don't see any harm in waiting until August to get this resolved with the Forest Service because we've agreed not to engage in mining activities.
Okay, thank you. Can you address the letter that was also sent to the board for, I believe it's from the U.S. Forest Service? There, we also received a motion to dismiss. And yeah, I would love to kind of dive into that a little bit. I don't understand how we should consider that in relation to your request for continuance.
Okay, so the the division explained at the last hearing that the reason they thought that our plan of operations and we didn't have a right to mine was based on 2 letters of the Forest Service, one in the fall of 2019 and another in the fall of 2020. And we went to court to challenge those, saying those weren't those weren't done through the right process. And the motion to dismiss is the federal government's response saying those letters are not final decisions. Those letters that the division is relying on is not the official position of the Forest Service. And so that's, I would say that should end it. And the enforcement proceeding should end. But the reality is the Forest Service on Friday issued a new notice of compliance saying, we think maybe you don't have the right to mine. But in that motion to dismiss, they explained that is not a final decision either. You've got to go through some procedures before that becomes the official position of the Forest Service. And to my knowledge, the division hasn't said that there's any reason that we should engage in reclamation other than the fact that they think the Forest Service has told us that we can't mine anymore. And I think before reclamation begins, and before we decide whether reclamation begins, we really need, I think, a final decision of the Forest Service as to whether or not we get to keep mining or not.
Okay, all right, I appreciate that. Mr. Schultz, did you have some background to add to this conversation as well?
Thanks, Madam Chair. This is Scott Schultz with the Colorado Attorney General's Office representing the division. I won't get into kind of the merits of the dispute between the operator and Forest Service at this time. There's a lot of different moving pieces going on, and we don't have an objection to continuing this till August. Maybe then we'll have a little more clarity on where the Forest Service is in regards to this operator. But I think me pontificating on the beginnings of a lawsuit would not really be a useful use of your time. I think we can maybe circle back in a couple of months and see where we're at. But from the division's perspective, they still don't have a valid plan of operations with the Forest Service. But given that we do have a stipulation in place where there is no mining to occur at this site, I think we can wait a little bit longer and see what the result is in this lawsuit between the operator and the Forest Service.
Okay.
But I am open to any questions if you do have any questions about the pending lawsuit and where they're at.
I do not necessarily, just because I agree it seems a little bit out of our realm. Do other board members have questions though?
Madam Chair, mine's not necessarily a question, but I just wanted to note that in the letter, it looks like they said on May 4th that they indicated to Mr. Schultz that they'd want a continuance. So I guess I feel, like this wasn't a super last minute thing, even though the letter's dated May 17th. It sounds like that there's been open lines of communications, which I know that we all always appreciate, even if it's complex.
Yeah, no, I agree. Any other questions or thoughts? Okay, I guess my only question, and it feels like we're maybe guessing in the dark, is whether August is enough time. That's hard, obviously, to know, but it's just, we've seen this, we've had this discussion multiple times, so I want to make sure that the next time we have it, it's fruitful for everyone involved, and not just kind of another kick in the conversation down the road. Mr. Stevens, do you have any indication on how long response times might be, or when you feel like you might get a decision here?
I really don't know. I've had multiple conversations with the attorney for the Forest Service, and who assures me that we ought to be able to work something out. But I understand I'm dealing with the federal government and things take time. Something that I think might be helpful in regard to this latest request for an extension. I sort of waited to the last minute because I was hoping to have the motion to dismiss in hand and be able to show you that the Forest Service is saying that these letters are not final. But if we're postponing this to August, when would be how much in advance would you like a request? If I say, we're having a meeting in September, or say, something to say, let's postpone it another month or two. How much in advance of your meeting would you like that request?
I'm going to kind of bump that one over to you and Cami to kind of discuss the logistics associated with that. But something we've done for other cases where it's kind of a continuing conversation is to have sort of status reports every month or month or two included and sent through the division, just so that they're aware of where you're at and then can bring it up at the most appropriate time for your time and the board's time. If that would work for you, I think we could probably draft a motion about continuing this conversation, but with the intention to have some status reports submitted.
That sounds great.
Okay. Does that feel good to other board members?
Yeah,
Yes.
I guess, yeah, I go with that, but I'm getting a little restless with this subject. So I think we need to keep the pressure on. This is just keeps going on and on. So, but I understand we need to find a place, but maybe I don't know. That's probably the best solution, I guess. I'm getting a little restless, I can tell you.
I agree with Mr. Singletary.
Robert Congdon here. I'd like to opine. Yeah, I'm getting a little restless myself. This has been going on and on and on. We were told we had to pack up, move off there a year and a half ago. And now they're telling us we still have a plan of operations that they now want to void out. So it's circular. It goes on and on and on. And we want to know the position just as bad as the board does. I know you've got a job to do. And I got a business to run. So we're kind of left out in the cold trying to figure out just, which way is up. So I appreciate your time and your patience. Thank you.
Madam Chair, if I may suggest that we set it for September. I do understand the idea of status reports. I'm just not sure if those would be kind of the end all be all in this matter. There are some deadlines that the Forest Service and the operator have that are mid to late August.
Okay.
So I suggest we would have a better idea maybe in September instead of August to see kind of where we're at. I'm just not. I do appreciate the idea of a status report. I'm just not sure if that really moves the ball forward in this matter. But I'm open to that too.
Sure. Yeah, I tend to agree with you about the September timing. I feel like in reading some of the backgrounds, some dates in late August kind of popped out to me as well. And I was thinking maybe we wouldn't have enough time. So let's shoot for September if that's amenable to the operator. And maybe then we can skip those status reports and hopefully we'll have just the overall decision by that point. And then, yeah, kind of best use of everyone's time involved.
That works for us.
Okay, wonderful. Okay. Board, then if you're comfortable with that decision and we don't have any further discussion, if we could please draft or make a motion here on how we'd like to proceed.
you know, if I'd do it, I'd kind of like you to restate where you were coming from, Madam Chair, and represent that, because I like where you're headed, but I would move that we continue this, or whatever the proper word is, until 1st of September. I don't know what else we need to put in the motion, but be happy to do that.
Yeah, I think so. The September board meeting, what we're shooting to continue it to, and then continuing that cease and desist and ensuring that it is still in place throughout this continuance.
And Madam Chair,
I'm thinking maybe we ought to have a continuance. I mean, the continuance obviously goes to the board meeting, but I think we ought to have some sort of knowledge, you know, a week or so before that, so we kind of know how to deal with it. Hopefully they'll stay in touch. You know, go ahead, Attorney General.
Sorry, Board Member Singletary. We are, I did check with my clients and staff before I suggested the September date, and September is not a date that works good for the division at all. So I apologize. So either stick with that August date, or we could even go to October, but I mean, we could go to August and just have it as a status conference. Then we could set it for 60 days later if necessary. My apologies for the scheduling snafu.
Scott, this is Russ Means and stuff and that. I just sent you another one and stuff and that. Because of some of the documentation that I've read, just like the chair and stuff, a lot of these issues and stuff are going to appear to be coming to a head in late August. So September will work and stuff for staff and stuff and that. Our apologies for the mix up. We're trying to, in a virtual world, have a conversation here. So September is fine with staff in that, and that way it gets past some of the hurdles and stuff that the operator and the Forest Service have. And we're not in the middle of some kind of communications and stuff while we're trying to have a board meeting in August. I think that it's better to clear that hurdle first. So my apologies, Scott.
I guess so we can move on. I would rephrase my motion to reflect that I move that we have and I don't think status conference, we have a status update at our August meeting with the hearing commencing at our October meeting.
Is that what everyone would prefer, or do we want to have a status update in August and a September hearing? I think I'm hearing both.
September hearing would be very difficult for the division.
Okay, then Mr. Singletary's suggestion is perfect. Okay.
I'm a little unclear. Sorry.
Yeah, I think we're trying to schedule and figure out a decision here. So, Mr. Singletary, can you please say that one more time? I think you had it right.
I move that we have a status hearing, or an update on the status at our September meeting, with the commencement of the hearing in our October meeting. Is that clear?
Crystal clear. Thank you, Mr. Singletary.
That was a good movie. Oh.
Great. Can I get a second, please?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, seeing none in the chat, I think the motion carries, and we're good to discuss this down the road. Thank you. I appreciate everyone's flexibility on that. These are scheduling challenges, but we'll get through it. We'll get to it. All right. Can we please move forward to item number 6, an enforcement hearing for file number M-2010-01071.
Lauren, can I have
Yes.
you clarify who the number is? 303-570. And then
I'm sorry, you're breaking up a little bit, but I think you asked me to say the file number again.
Oh,
On my agenda,
telephone number.
She wants
Okay,
to know what the phone number is, Lauren. That's 303-570-9798.
thank you. Thanks. Okay, I cannot.
Hey guys, my computer's just a little ways away from me, so.
Great. So she's asking one of the callers ending in 9798 to please identify themselves.
So that is John File. He is our the owner of Rock Products. He is the contractor for Goose Haven Reservoir for the city of Lafayette.
Great. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Kimmy, is that all you needed?
That's all I need. Thank you.
Great. Okay.
Yeah, I'm attending the meeting. I'm here.
All right.
It's John
Wonderful. Good morning. Thank you. So if you plan to testify as part of this hearing, could you please raise your right hand?
Okay.
Thank you. Do you swear to tell the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, let's get started.
Share screen on the bottom, green. Share. Yes. Presentation.
Good morning, this is Amy Ashberger with the division. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay. This is an enforcement hearing for the Goose Haven Reservoir number 2 complex expansion. It's permit number M 2010-071, and the operator is the city of Lafayette. The hearing is for consideration of a violation, civil penalty, cease and desist order, and corrective actions for failure to comply with the conditions of an order, permit, or regulation. So this is a 112 construction materials permit, and it's located in Boulder County. It's approximately 2 miles north of the city of Lafayette. The permit area is 232 acres, and they're mining borrowed material for construction use. The affected lands are owned by the city of Lafayette, and the post-mine land use is developed water resources. And the division does not hold a bond for this permit because the operator is a unit of municipal government. So slide 3 just shows you the general location of the site, about 2 miles north of Lafayette, just south of Boulder Creek, about half a mile south of Boulder Creek. And slide 4 shows the approved permit area, the 232 acres. The red outline is the permit area. And then slide 5, there's just a couple of bullet points from the operation. They have 2 existing clay lime reservoirs that were located within the permit area. These are called reservoirs number 1 and number 3. And those 2 reservoirs were mined under another permit, which was released, but these 2 reservoirs are still included in this permit area. And the permit was originally, it included creating only 1 additional reservoir, which was number 2, with a slurry wall lining. And then in 2017, the division approved amendment number 1, which added an additional reservoir, number 4, and it also changed the method of lining the reservoirs from slurry wall to compacted clay liner. So the excavation areas are dewatered during mining, and the water is routed through a series of settling ponds on the pit floor, and then ultimately it is discharged to Boulder Creek under a CDPHE discharge permit. The mine material is processed on site at a processing plant, which is located in the footprint of reservoir number 4. And the topsoil and overburden, as it's salvaged, is stored in an area located west of the new reservoir number 2. And slide 6 is just to show you the original mining plan map. So you have I'll go ahead and, can you see my cursor moving? Okay. So you had the existing reservoir 1 in the northwest portion of the permit area, and the existing reservoir number 3. And then we had the new reservoir number 2, which originally was to have a slurry wall liner. And then you have your processing area up in the northeast. And then, of course, we had this overburdened stockpile area, this large area to the west of Reservoir 2. And then slide 7 shows you some of the map. This is one of the maps that was approved with amendment number 1. So this is the northern portion of the permit area, and it's showing you this new clay lime reservoir that the operation will construct in the processing area. And then slide 8 shows the southern portion of the permit area, and this is also a mining plan map that was approved with amendment number 1. So it's just showing you this reservoir number 2, which was originally approved, but it's with a compacted clay liner rather than slurry wall. And then we have this large topsoil overburden stockpile area designated to the west of reservoir number 2. So anyone have any questions on the mining plan that's approved for the mining plan maps? Okay. So slide 9, I'm sorry, gives you just some of the bullet points from the reclamation plan. So as I stated earlier, the post-mine land uses developed water resources, and the plan was to leave a total of 4 clay lime reservoirs, including the 2 existing, to construct an under drain along the eastern and southern edges of reservoir number 2 for groundwater mounding, and then to backfill all the reservoir slopes to 3-to-1. And they place a protective rock shell on the tops of the slopes about 10 feet down from the ground surface. And then they re-topsoil and revegetate those reservoir slopes above the rock shell. They also are to replace about 12 inches of topsoil and revegetate all the disturbed areas around the reservoirs. And then the overburdened storage area would be ripped and revegetated. And then the access roads and all the structures related to managing the reservoirs would be left in place. So slide 10 shows you the original reclamation plan map, just showing you this reservoir 2 was the first one approved for slurry wall, and then the other areas would be revegetated. And then slide 11 is from the amendment number 1. This is the northern portion of the permit area, just showing you that the reservoir number 4 would have a compacted clay liner. So this was an additional reservoir that was added with that amendment. And then slide 12 shows the southern portion of the permit area approved in, or the reclamation plan map, sorry, for the southern portion of the permit area. So we do have, we changed the method from slurry wall to clay liner for reservoir 2. And then note that the area to the west that would be used for overburden stockpiling would be revegetated for rangeland use. And slide 13, this has a lot of information on it, but basically I just wanted to give you a cross-section of the reservoir slope reclamation, and mainly just to show you this compacted clay liner. This is put in against the mine slopes of the reservoir, and then they come in and backfill against the compacted clay liner with overburden, and they create these 3-to-1 slopes. And then you have this protective rock shell that I mentioned in the top 10 feet of the slope, and then they retopsoil and revegetate outside of that. So slide 14 shows this is for the approved groundwater monitoring plan. So we do have 7 monitoring piezometers on site. 4 of those are installed up gradient, and 3 are installed down gradient of the mining areas. The operation was to collect groundwater level data from piezometers, from all of the piezometers on a quarterly basis, and to submit that data to the division on an annual basis, preferably with the annual report. And for the site, their annual report is due by October 18th of every year. And the operator was to collect seasonal baseline groundwater levels prior to mining an area. And there was also an approved mitigation plan in place for the site. And then slide 15 shows you the location of these 7 approved piezometers with the blue stars. So we have 1, 2, and 3, which are located up gradient, and then 4, 5, 6, and 7, which are located down gradient from the mining areas. Any questions so far? Or can I move on? Okay. So slide 16, this begins the chronology. So we went out and did an inspection on April 1st of this year. And we found that the operator was constructing a new clay line reservoir, which is located within the affected lands, but it was in the area that was designated for topsoil overburden storage, which is not part of the approved permit to put a reservoir in this area. And also the operator had not submitted the required quarterly groundwater level monitoring data on an annual basis per the approved permit. And the most recent data I found in the file was from 2015. So we sent the inspection report to the operator on April 7th. And on April 15th is when we sent the reason to believe a violation exists letter to the operator. So slide 17, so the red line, it shows you the permit area in red. And then in yellow is the location of the new unauthorized clay line reservoir, which is being constructed. And the division estimates it to be approximately 35 acres in size. And the liner is partially installed on this reservoir. In slide 18, I just had a few photos from my inspection report, which was included in the board packet. So there's photos 17 and photo 18, just to show you this, this new reservoir that was being constructed. So you see in photo 17, this is the I guess the raw mining wall before it's been backfilled. And then you can kind of see the edge of the clay liner delineated with the yellow arrows there. And you can kind of see it better in photo 18. I've delineated it with the yellow arrows. You can see the clay liner that's been installed, and there's a dam. This is the eastern edge of the reservoir. So it's approximately 30 feet in height. And this is the dam that's being constructed. And then slide 19, I just had 2 more photos from my inspection report, photos 23 and 24. And it's kind of hard to tell looking at this, but I'm looking northwest across the reservoir in photo 23. So this entire area here is most of the picture is the reservoir. And then photo 24 is looking north across the western edge. And I apologize, I'm standing back a little bit, so it's a little difficult to see, but I've delineated the clay liner there in yellow arrows to show you where that's installed along the northern and western edges. So slide 20 is going into the staff recommendations. So staff recommends that the board find the operator in violation pursuant to CRS 34-32.5-124 for failure to comply with the conditions of an order, permit, or regulation. Staff also recommends the board issue a cease and desist order pursuant to CRS 34-32.5-124, parent 2, prohibiting any further activities in the area of the new clay line reservoir, except that activities approved by the division in writing as necessary to comply with the conditions of a board order, prevent damage to offsite areas, complete reclamation, or to protect public health and safety until the corrective actions have been resolved to the satisfaction of the division. Slide 21 continues the recommendations. So the corrective actions that the staff recommends is to require the operator to submit an amendment application to update the approved mining and reclamation plans and maps, as well as update the hydrologic evaluation for the site to address the new reservoir construction. We recommend the amendment application be submitted within 90 days of the effective date of the board order, with all materials in an approvable form within statutory deadlines. And I wanted to note, we did have a second corrective action here that we recommended for related to the groundwater data, but the operator did submit this data earlier this week, and we're still reviewing it, but we recommend that that corrective action be removed and just have the first one about submitting the amendment. So slide 22, the staff recommends that, oh, I'm sorry, pursuant to CRS 34-32.5-124, parent 7, a person who violates any provision of a permit issued under this article shall be subject to a civil penalty of not less than $100 per day, nor more than $1,000 per day for each day during which such violation occurs. In this matter, the board may find 48 days of violation from the April 1st inspection to today's date of the hearing, resulting in a civil penalty range of not less than $4,800 to not more than $48,000. And in this case, the staff recommends the operator be found in violation for 48 days and that a civil penalty be assessed in the amount of $100 per day for a total civil penalty of $4,800, with all but $1,000 suspended if the operator complies with the corrective actions. And this completes my presentation. Does the board have any questions for me?
I did have one question, and it's shown well on this aerial you've got here. The ponding water shown in the sort of, I guess that's northeast corner. Yeah, there's your compass, northeast corner. Is that, I think it's shown in some of your photos as well from the site, but is that kind of like stormwater related, or does it look like it's been directed into that area?
There's a mix. I mean, in this one, this is a Google Earth image from September 2020. So I'm not sure. I do know that the sediment ponds, you can see those in Reservoir 4. Those are constructed, and I did see those during the inspection I conducted this year. As for these other two, it did appear that there was possibly a pond that was constructed in the reservoir, the new reservoir as well, but there was also some stormwater on site. We did have a recent storm, big rainfall event right before that. I can't speak to the September 2020 aerial image, but I know when I was there, there was some water in all pits. And I noted that in the inspection report. We do want to see the operator, they are supposed to maintain a substitute water supply plan for the water that they expose in the pits while they're mining. And so I don't think the operator may have provided that. I haven't verified that yet. There were several files provided earlier this week, so I'll be looking through that. But we do want to confirm that they have that in place for any groundwater exposed due to the trenching and the sediment ponds. But I think some of that could also be some stormwater if it's anything like it was when I was there earlier this year.
All right, great, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, hearing none and seeing none, the operator would like to make their testimony.
This is Peter Whalen. Can everybody hear me? Hi, my name is Peter Whalen, and I'm going to be presenting on behalf of the city of Lafayette and the operator. And I guess maybe I will drive here and bring up a small presentation that I have, if I can figure this out. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Slideshow. So I'm going to skip the introduction. I believe that, well, I believe that Amy introduced who we have here. We have myself. I'm the principal of Wheel and Inc. I'm the engineer and design consultant for the Goose Haven Reservoir expansion. This is actually a design build project with the city of Lafayette to build some reservoirs. So John File is the operator and the principal contractor. And John is on the phone, and Melanie is here as well, I believe, on video. So you've seen what the violation is, and I'm just going to go into our response here. So I'd like to just explain some about the background of this project. As you've seen, we've done a couple of iterations of the permit prior, and the last amendment was to include another mining area. This third mining cell that we've begun work on prematurely, apparently, is a site to the west that Amy's identified. And I guess before I talk about that some more, I just wanted to say the first thing I think needs to be mentioned is that this project is first and foremost a civil works project for the city of Lafayette, and that the aggregate mining is more somewhat secondary, if you will, to the engineering construction of this reservoir expansion. And as such, the DRMS doesn't hold a bond on the site, but rather the city of Lafayette does have a financial surety in place for the contractor and operator to ensure that that the project will be done. And there's even some performance warranty and whatnot involved in the contractual obligation between the operator and the city. And so with that being said, prior to working in this area, we've done a significant amount of civil engineering, and we've been working on making application with the Office of the State Engineer for construction of an embankment dam structure. And so during that process of preparing that submittal, we've had some real trouble with our geotechnical contractor. They lost the project manager. By the time the new project manager came on board, the OSE made big policy changes to the hydrology requirements, and so we had to start over with all of that. And so I guess the point here is that we've always had the intention to file a technical revision of the permit once the dam submittal was complete and approved. It's just taken a lot longer than we've anticipated. We've done a significant amount of engineering, from everything from slope stability to drainage to, I mean, this site is very over-engineered, probably more so than many of the DRMS permits that come across your desk. And so I guess I just want to ask that, the board consider that, along with the fact that the liability to the state is limited here, because we have bonding and surety with the city, and that this is a public works dam project. We would ask the board to waive civil penalties, and I guess which something that I wasn't aware of was the potential for a cease and desist. So I would really request that that you waive that condition as well, so that we can move forward with this very important public works project. That's all I have. Does anybody have any questions of me? I'll go back to
Thank you. Any questions at this point?
Madam Chair, I'm not sure who would be the best person to answer this question, but just looking at this initial letter, the reason to believe letter, that the groundwater level monitoring data hasn't been submitted to the office since September 8th, 2015. Is that correct? Am I understanding that letter correctly? Yeah, Amy. Who typically should be responsible, at least from the city of Lafayette, to be submitting that data?
So, Nell, I can clarify that a little. I believe it was Brad Dallin was the city manager or the head of public works prior, and Brad left and Melanie Asquith took over. And I think probably there may have been some disconnect between the shifting of positions there, but the city had always been doing that. They've been gathering the data. They actually gather much more frequent than quarterly groundwater data. And the data is all there. It's really just an administrative error that it wasn't submitted annually. And so, yeah, we apologize for that. And it will be submitted quarterly moving forward.
Thank you. Looked like Amy had a response too.
Yes, Madam Chair, members of the board, Michael Cunningham, representing the division here. Just wanted to touch on a couple points. I think first, with respect to the monitoring data, obviously we don't want to ever be in a situation where we're coming before the board and we're delinquent on a monitoring requirement with this length of time. And so it is the permittee's responsibility to adhere to that permit condition and provide us with that data. Albeit, I think staff does have a role in ensuring that we receive and review that data in a timely manner. So I just wanted to inform the board that in an effort to make sure that we're not in a similar situation in the future, last year, we undertook a very large project. We did a comprehensive review of all of our active permits, and we identified all of the monitoring requirements. We made sure those got entered into the permit system. I'm sure you've heard us talk about that many times. That is our internal database that we use to track a variety of different aspects for our operations. So we have those commitments in there now, and it's set up to send out an automatic reminder to the specialist that oversees the site, their supervisor, as well as the operator when we are delinquent on a monitoring requirement, such that we can reach out to them, give them a friendly reminder, figure out if there is a problem, what it is, and address it before we get to a point where we're missing 4 or more years of data. So I just wanted to let the board know about that. And additionally, one other point I'd like to make, and I certainly appreciate hearing Mr. Whalen's explanation of what went on out there. I was actually the lead specialist on this site some years ago. And while we didn't include this background in the board presentation, I did want to inform the board that we had a similar situation back in 2015, where through the course of a routine monitoring inspection, I found that the city of Lafayette had moved forward on a yet to be approved reservoir cell, similar in that it was within the footprint of the permit area. It just had not been reviewed and approved by us. So at that time, we did handle that through an amendment. So again, this was identified in 2015. The amendment got submitted in 2016, and then we approved that last amendment in 2017. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Means, it looks like you had a comment.
Thank you. I just wanted to address a little bit the civil project portion of this and remind the board that the main factor in this and stuff is that they're selling the material and introducing it into a market. And so that's what puts them into the jurisdiction of DRMS. It's no different than a county permit or any other permit and stuff in that, where they're using materials and stuff for other projects and that. So regardless of whether it's a civil project or not, that's one of the lines and stuff that we look at. If the material was being left on site while they were doing construction, we've actually done several mining stuff where we determined that's not mining. However, in this case, it's because they are processing materials and selling it and using it and stuff and others and stuff and that, they are under the division and the board's jurisdiction. I just wanted to make that clear.
Okay. All righty, do we have any final questions here? Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and close testimony and open it up for board deliberation. Any discussion we need to have as a board here?
Madam Chair, I think that Ms. Asquith had her hand up as well.
Oh, I'm
about
so
that.
sorry. I didn't see it. I apologize. All right, let's open testimony again. Please, Ms. Asquith, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry for that. Thank you. I just wanted to say, I've been in this position now for 2 years and I'm learning a lot about the project, and Amy's visit was very, very informative. And so going forward, we do collect that monitoring data because it's a critical part for me to be able to watch that to make sure, our existing reservoirs aren't leaking, that we're having, not having issues with those. And so we do collect it almost weekly, but I will now ensure that it is submitted on time, it is taken care of, and our annual reports are submitted to Amy.
Great, thank you. And it sounds like there's a better system on both ends now. It sounds like the division's got a great system in place. You know how to get in touch with them and submit that data well. So it sounds like we'll be in a good spot moving forward here. Okay, I apologize about missing your earlier comment. I think at this point I will then officially close testimony here and open it up for deliberation. Any thoughts from the board here?
I mean, I just have a general comment, and it comes more from my familiarity with, the mine that I work at, and possibly maybe just something for the city of Lafayette to consider if they don't already have this, considering that their primary, role is not being a mining company all the time. But, just having a management of change process in there so that when you're working on some of these big projects and we have this turnover in, local government or whatever that may be, just these checks and balances so that in the future, these items don't get missed, figuring out how to kind of have some administrative controls in there as well. Sounds like it might be a best practice.
Mr. Singletary?
Yes, I would just say, I'm really disappointed. It seems like the city of Lafayette is treating us, because they're another entity, a governmental entity, we can do what we want. And I guess I'm real disappointed in that. I think if their rules were being broken by some of the residents, they're certainly gonna probably enforce those. To just take us lackadaisical or take what they agreed to do lackadaisically. And their attitude to me today, I mean, they say, well, we have the financial backing. Well, that's not the problem. That's only an answer. And so I'm a little, not more than a little, I'm disappointed. And hopefully in the future, they'll maybe treat it a little more seriously. But I feel like that, it's just, well, it's just us and we're doing a civic project so we can do what we want. That's not what this is about. I mean, we have a set of rules that applies to Joe Blow and Lafayette, and I'm sure they have the same. So I'm uncomfortable with what they've done in the past.
Yeah, I mean, I have to share your concerns here. This is a mine, and they knew that. And yes, I understand that these complex projects require a lot of coordination and a lot of time and a lot of design and a lot of engineering, but that's for a reason. And especially when you're working in such close proximity to homes, and when you are, a city entity here, you are supposed to be kind of the model and the example of how to do things right. So it sounds like we've set up a good process here. It sounds like there's better lines of communication. I'm hopeful that we won't have these issues moving forward, but I do take it very seriously and appreciate the staff's time on this one and their recommendations. So if we could, if there's no other discussion.
I have something I'd like to say.
Please.
When you're finished, Madam Chairman.
Yep, that was my point. Go ahead.
Yeah. The sliding off the hook, I think way too easily this time. I would like to have something in the division that there's a reminder, a tickler, there's something there that says, this is what's due. And if they do it again, I don't care how small, then they're held accountable. And the requirements that we make of other entities will be made of them. Yeah, their kind of laissez-faire attitude right now is, I find it really distressing. And they think they can, I come away with the idea, they think they can get away with it. Well, maybe we give it the warning too, as they say, the division was not perhaps aware of all of this, but now they are. And I would certainly hope that the division would be able to say somehow that they can check it. And I mean, if the city doesn't do it, they screw up in any way the next time, then they're just going to be held accountable and payable and cease and desist if that's necessary. I just think they've slid through once, they don't slide ever again. But it's the division's responsibility to see that they don't slide, because it doesn't seem that self-monitoring by the city of Lafayette is very well in place. That's my feeling.
Okay, thank you. With that, could we please make a motion? And the
Is it possible for us to make just one more comment?
well, we've closed testimony, so
Okay.
I think we'll move forward here, but noted, but I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay.
Let's see. So the division did provide their recommendations to the board, as well as their presentation form. So if we would like to refer to that, that should be available to you. And yeah, I'll wait for someone to make a motion there. Bear with us, sorting through paperwork.
And I was going to say, if anyone has a page number, or the slides could be easier, possibly.
Al, I sent you the presentation forms this morning.
Yep, and the recommendation.
Yeah, we're looking through our folders.
Yeah, those recommendations are on page 2 of the board presentation form that starts with AME.
Madam Chair, I think I can take a shot here. Move the board find the operator in violation of CRS 34-32.5-124 for failure to comply with the conditions of an order, permit, or regulation. That we issue a cease and desist order pursuant to CRS 34-32.5-124 parent 2 prohibiting any further activities in the area of the new clay line reservoir except those activities approved by the division in writing as necessary to comply with the conditions of a board order, prevent damage to off-site areas, complete reclamation, or to protect public health and safety until the corrective actions have been resolved to the satisfaction of the division. We further require the operator to submit an amendment application to update the approved mining and reclamation plans and maps, as well as the hydraulic evaluation for the site to address the new reservoir construction. The operator shall submit the amendment application within 90 days of the effective date of the board with all materials in an approvable form within statutory deadlines. We require the operator submit the
I'll
past.
stop you there. They've already submitted those.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let's see here then. We further recommend we find the operator in violation for 48 days and assess a civil penalty of $100 per day for a total civil penalty of $4,800 with all but $1,000 suspended if the operator complies with the corrective actions. Payment of the unsuspended portion of the civil penalty shall be due and payable within 30 days of the effective date of the board order, unless otherwise specified in the board order. Where corrective actions are not completed by the corrective action date specified by the board order, the suspended civil penalty shall be due and payable within 30 days of the board order deadline for completion of the corrective action. And then certainly I would note board member Utterback's comments that we consider further action if this is not resolved.
Second.
Thank you. Moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes. Thank you. I believe that moves us on to item number 7, enforcement hearing for file number M-1995-057. If you plan to testify in this hearing, could you please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth? Yes, thank you.
Everybody hear me all right?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay. My name is Dustin Zappala with the division. This is an enforcement hearing for a construction materials extraction operation. The site is the Rutabaugh Pit, permit number M-1995-057, which is located in Gunnison County. It's a 110C sand and gravel operation, which covers 9.9 permitted acres. The existing financial warranty is $21,840, which is adequate to cover reclamation of the site. The reason for this hearing is consideration of permit revocation and finding the financial warranty subject to forfeiture for failure to submit the required 2020 annual report map and fee. Go through chronology. On March 7, 2020, the annual report map and fee were due. No submittal was received. Again, on March 7, 2021, annual report map and fee were due. No submittal received. March 11, 2021, the division mailed notice of violation and hearing. On April 1st, 2021, the division received notice that the operator is deceased. To date, there has been no contact on operator's behalf. Statutes violated and their description. CRS 34, 32.5, 116, parent 3, parent A, states that each year on the anniversary date of the permit, an operator shall submit the annual fee, a report and map showing the extent of current disturbances to the affected land. CRS 34, 32.5, 116, parent 3, parent B, states that where an operator is late in payment of the annual fee by greater than 60 days, the office shall set the matter for a hearing before the board for permit revocation and forfeiture of the financial warranty. Go through the history of violations for this site. In August 1995, there was violation MB 1995-056 for operating without a permit. In June 1998, violation MV 1998-021 for failure to submit annual fee and report. October 6, 2000, violation MV 2000-052 for failure to submit annual fee and report. Again, on February 2002, violation MV 2002-002, a failure to submit annual fee and report. In July 2003, violation MV 2003-012 for failure to submit annual fee and report. In July 2006, violation MV 2006-029 for failure to submit annual fee and report. Again, in July 2014, violation MV 2014-018 for failure to submit annual fee and report. In May 2018, violation MV 2018-013 for failure to fulfill financial warranty requirements. Also, failure to control unsightliness or deleterious effects of refuse, and failure to maintain the sign. May 2019, violation MV 2019-010 for failure to submit annual fee and report. And lastly, March 2021, violation MV 2021-002 for failure to submit the annual fee and report. Our staff recommendations. Staff recommends the board, number one, find that permit M 1995-057 is revoked and that the financial warranty is subject to forfeiture. Number two, direct staff to schedule a hearing for consideration of financial warranty forfeiture. And three, order the operator to cease and desist all mining activities at the site. That concludes staff's presentation. Field any questions if there are any.
Thank you. Do we have any questions at this time? Okay, I'm not seeing any. I guess I had one quick question. Per the article you included in here, it sounds like the family of owners here has kind of gone through some pretty decent distress. Is there anyone responsible for this mine anymore? Is there an operator you have any sort of connection with, or that the division can even contact?
Not that I know of. As you saw, the operator, Deb Rudabaugh, passed away in prison. The heirs would have been her daughter, and which I believe they're in prison for life as well for their participation in that. So.
Okay. Okay. Well, then this doubly sounds like the right.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, right way to move forward if there's no one responsible. Okay. And is the I don't remember seeing it. I'm sorry. Is the bond adequate for this site?
Yes, we currently hold 21,840. The last bond calculation I did was in the realm of 14,000. I think the bulk of that financial warranty that we held was for removal of trash and old equipment from the site, which has been completed for the most part.
Okay. All right, great. That's good to hear. Okay. All right, well, unless the board has any further questions, we could please make a motion. Oh, yeah.
I guess my only follow-up question to what you asked, Madam Chair, was on page 128, item 13. It looks like at a 2018 hearing, there was a Carol Troutman. Is that somebody else appearing on behalf of the operator? But you don't, there's just really not been anybody else that you've been able to have contact with for this contact.
That is Deb Rudabaugh's sister.
Okay.
We had sent correspondence to her. Have not had any response on behalf of the operator, so I don't know. She's not the operator.
Right. Okay. All righty. Well, if there are no other questions, then if we could please make a motion.
Madam Chair, I would move to find that permit M 1995-057 is revoked and that the financial warranty is subject to forfeiture. Direct staff to schedule a hearing for consideration of financial warranty forfeiture in order the operator to cease and desist all mining activities at the site.
Second.
Thank you. Moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, hearing none, the motion passes. I don't believe we have any members of the public here for public comment. Did we need to enter executive session today?
We do. What I can do, Lauren, is I can turn off all of the recordings and everything from here, so we don't have to escape anywhere.
Okay. All right, so kind of hang tight for entering executive session.
Yes, give me just a second.
And sorry, Cami, one more question for you. The